I could eat this all day long.
And that's like the gummy bear, right, Nico? Like, or the company that makes the gummy bear?
Yeah, it's the company that makes the gummy bear.
I can't wait for gummy boars too. The new
Gummy
cake
bears.
gummy. All right. And of course, like I said, we have like six. So three more. We have Tom Lowry, Jungwoo, and Akshay. Tom, do you want to start us off?
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Raji. So I'm Tom. I'm a designer advocate. Raji and I work on the same team. I'm based in Toronto, and favorite candy? I'm gonna go with like sour watermelons. And for all the Canadians, you gotta go to like Bulk Barn. They have like the giant tub of sour watermelons, and you buy them by the weight. You like that's like the only way to do it.
All right. Very niche advice for our Canadians. Awesome. All right, Jungwoo.
Hey y'all, my name is Jung Woo. I was one of the engineers on the product. Um, I would say my favorite candy is I'm gonna go classic here, Skittles, like just classic Skittles.
Awesome. And we saw that in the chat too. Seems like you have, there are tens of you that love the Skittles. Akshay, it's up to you.
Hi, I'm Akshay, based in New York, on the same team as Jungwoo, who's also based in New York. My favorite candy is anything from C's Candies, pretty much, but I also like peanut brittle in particular.
Yeah. Definite spot in my heart. Okay, so we're definitely going to hear more from you all in just a little bit, but let's get started. I loved this quote from our Twitter account, and just kind of for those of you that are new, multi-edit, the way it should have been but wasn't, but now is, and maybe our Figmates can shine a little bit of light on like why we're saying that and why we think that. It certainly feels that way to me. But I wanted to tell like a little bit of the story. Multi-edit from my perspective. If you've ever seen something like this, I don't know the technical word for this. Maybe Show or Nico or Tom knows, but I call it frame sprawl. And basically, the idea is in your Figma document or in a design app, you're going to be creating screens or mock-ups of different desktop apps or mobile apps or whatever. And as you're riffing, you're trying to like explore. And a lot of times you do this thing, this pattern that we're noticing where people just duplicate the frame, and often it goes off into the right, and I wonder if like in RTL, like if it goes off into the left, I don't know. But this duplication kind of happens this way, and you end up having a lot of the same elements all on the canvas. And a lot of them later on, you realize, oh my goodness, like I need to update these. I'm starting to get into this stage of like, when I'm not in ideation, I'm not in this free form design. I need to start getting more structured. I'm seeing patterns here that I like, and you might want to update those. And I'm not going to share much more, but like this is a bit of the issue that multi-edit came to address. And just as a little bit of social proof, we pulled a few tweets of these, and apparently some of these you can see some pretty high engagement, like 1.5 thousand likes on Twitter. And you can see, like in Daryl Chin's, this frame sprawl. You can see, like in Steve Shoger's, he's got a little bit of a different system, but there's just sort of all these duplicates. And ultimately, this is what I love about riffing on things in Figma, because it matches sort of my mental model. I love a canvas-based open spatial tool where I can just put down all my ideas, and my ideas are fragmented. There's like all kinds of little bits and bobs everywhere. Like maybe there's a component over here, or a little illustration over here, or maybe I was making a meme over here. But this is sort of a bit of what we see in designers. So that's a little bit of the reason behind it, but I really want to talk to our team about why it is that we created this, what some of the challenges were before we get into the demo. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop my screen share now. And I've got a series of questions. So if our teammates, our Figmates would come on the camera, I'll go ahead and start asking some questions, keep this conversational, keep this light and fun. Okay. All right, I'm gonna kick it off with Show. And my first question for Show is a very broad question. Like, where did the idea come from?
Okay, so, we wrote a blog post, Nico and I wrote a blog post about this, but we first came up with this idea 5 years ago. And what had happened is there were just a bunch of hard things that we were trying to figure out at the same time. We're trying to figure out components and variants
at the time they were called states. We had a simpler idea for like hover states and things like that, but we also knew that people made different kinds of buttons, like primary buttons and secondary buttons and so on. And so we were trying to figure out, can we combine them? And we also knew that we wanted to add props, and we added this and that, and so it was getting very complicated, and we were all going kind of a little bit crazy. So we took all the designers and me and some other people, and we went up to what floor was it? Like the 9th floor? It was the top floor of the building.
Yeah, it was the 9th floor. Yeah.
It was like this room that we owned, but we didn't have any desks in, and we just pulled up there for 2 days with a whiteboard, and we're just like, we're gonna figure this all out. And Brady's a designer on our team. She's not on the team anymore, but she has like a really kind of animated personality, and she called it the World Peace Meeting. She's like, oh, we're gonna solve world peace with this meeting. This is the World Peace Meeting. So excited, and all that stuff. We've kind of figured out, but then we had this piece of like, okay, it's getting really complicated. How do you edit all this stuff at once? And then we had this idea that, well, when you select things that, when you select all the right elements, you can actually do mass edits pretty quickly, but there were just a bunch of things that were broken, and we sort of figured that stuff out, and that was like the genesis of multi-edit. And, so that was like literally 5 years ago, and ever since then, we've been trying to get multi-edit on the backlog, but then something else will bump it off the backlog for like 5 years, and we finally did it.
First of all, I can't believe 5 years, but also speaks to the sort of like long tail of ideas that we've had, and maybe how long it takes to get them there.
Yeah, and there are ideas on there that were also other good ideas that we still haven't done. Just FYI.
And are any of these? Okay, I'm just gonna play that.
They're not as good as multi-edit, but still like kind of good.
What can you share? Can you share any, or are we gonna keep them quiet?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have some ideas around how to make component properties more powerful, but part of why we worked on multi-edit instead of some of those things is I think components are already pretty complicated, and so we want to like not keep adding more and more stuff on top of components to make them more and more powerful. We want to kind of like just make everything a little bit more manageable. And part of what I think we like about multi-edit is, even though it's a powerful feature, when you use it, it feels like simpler than it was before. It's like before it was like you select all these things, and then your selection is all kind of weird, and you're not exactly sure what's going to happen or whatever. And it works differently now, but somehow it feels simpler and not more complicated than before. So that's part of why we decided to work on it now.
Amazing. I think a good follow-up here is for Nico. Sort of after this initial idea, like how does it like in Figma, how does it go from these sort of like solving world peace on a whiteboard kind of situation to multi-edit the feature? Like, did you already have everything all figured out at the beginning, or like how did that work for y'all?
No, I mean, yeah, definitely not, right? I think that at the beginning, you only get like a sense of like truths to know, right? You know that like, okay, it works, it'll work because variants exist in multiple frames across different frames on the canvas. We want to somehow improve the editing there. We need this for interactive components, and okay, it'll be like a mode for editing variants. That was kind of like where we started conceptually. Right? We of course, priority-wise, we had to figure out variants first. We worked on variants and interactive components at the beginning, and that was kind of like priority number one. And in the following months, multi-edit was a little bit like, I would say like maybe show in my like side project. I was living in Germany at this time, and I would fly in to the US for every couple months. It was pre-COVID, and we would kind of like find some time, meet up, talk about this stuff, see how we can push multi-edit further. I think the breakthrough there was once we were prototyping it a little bit. I was building some prototypes just like with Figma plugins that didn't exist at that time. And I think at some point we realized that like it doesn't have to be a mode for just components and variants. For this also feature that is currently still under development, right? But we realized we can change every single selection behavior for every single object, for every single selection that it cross-frames. And I think that was the moment for me personally where really there was a realization that like, holy shit, we can we can like, I was a designer coming out of university and I realized that like, hey, selection behavior, that's just a software design feature that people designed at some point. And it works the way because other people decided. So it's not an ultimate truth that can't be changed. And I think that was for me, a realization. I was like, oh wait, we're designing like we can design foundations of a design tool. But that then also like exploded the scope. So we wrote everything down we knew at the time. And tried to kind of like be as accurate as possible so we could pick it up more easily once we have the time and energy and resources to do so. We thought we were like, I would say probably thought we were like 80 to 90% done.
Wait, how long ago was it that you thought you were able to do like that?
Like from a design and behavior perspective, I think that was like 4 years ago. Like we had a PR team, there was an old PR team that was relatively like comprehensive again what we thought at the time. And I think that was like 4 years ago.
Okay, so we've kind of seen how the idea came and then picking it up. Let's pass this question on over to Tom. I know we talked a little bit about advocacy and how like we have people that are advocates that are hearing what the community is saying too, and kind of seeing this maybe this need come up. And so Tom, I just want to know like just tell us a story about from your side, like how you saw this happening. I know you were around back in those days as well with the Eco show. So what did you see? Tell us a story about like advocacy and like I can't say this enough, Tom. I think is the most excited person I've ever met about this. I think it's one of those things that when you say multi-edit 3 times, it summons Tom. So, Tom, let's hear what you have to say.
Multi-edit.
I'm here. I think from my perspective, I heard about it first, how we were thinking about it, when Nico explained it to me. And then it just resonated with me so much. So our team spent a lot of time, like doing like demonstrations and like sessions with customers through like either our sales channels or through the community. And you hear like the same questions over and over again, like how do I do this thing? How do I do this thing? And then when Nico was telling me about it, I started thinking like, there's like a lot of things that like map back to making repetitive selections across frames all the time. And then that spirals into this other like train of thought around like, should I be creating components for things that like maybe don't necessarily need to be components, or like maybe it's like too early to like think about solidifying those things as a component. And then I became like hyper aware of like things that could kind of like lead back to multi-edit. So like we would see posts on our forums or Reddit or on Twitter, and I'd be like, they would all be describing similar functionality or challenges in a lot of different ways. And so then I would just like go to our like Slack channel for multi-edit or like DM Nico directly, and I'd be like, I think multi-edit can solve this thing. I think multi-edit can solve this thing. At one point we had like, because we hadn't shipped it, I think I had like a free design for a free multi-edit t-shirt that I just wanted to like wear every time I went to the office, so that I could somehow move the needle on us shipping it, because I was like really excited about the shipping. But anyways, that's all from me. But
thank you for seeing the patterns in what our communities needed. I want to fill up the faces here, or FaceTimes, to get more people in. I want to hear a little bit from the engineering standpoint of this, because I don't even know how the sauce is made, but I kind of want to know a little bit more. So if we could spotlight Jungwoo, Akshay, and Emily, so that we can also get some questions out of them. So I'm gonna just fire a question over to Emily. I know that you were an intern on this, and I don't really know what you worked on. And I would love to hear like what specifically did you work on with this feature, and like what for somebody that's coming into Figma, what was like a really hard challenge? What was something that you're like, this is kind of a hard problem to solve? So what did you work on?
Yeah, so I think if we think of multi-edit as like kind of 3 main parts, the first part being like identifying and slightly mapping objects, that is the main part that I worked on. I also ended up working on helping to enable users to edit the multiple variants at the same time. And then I think the last one would be relative like edits to demos that I was writing for identifying what exactly is a matching object across different frames was the hardest part because of all the different edge cases that can come up, and just really making sure that it's like a good user experience for people.
Did you, just a wild question for you, Emily, did you ever write code that was like an infinite loop or that like selected way too many objects and then just bogged your computer down?
Yes and no. I think most of the problems that I did run into was like, oh, it really should be selecting this one, but it didn't end up selecting this one. Like, I don't know why, so I would have to jump back and like try to really figure out like, oh, it's actually identifying the wrong one. So now I have to go figure out how to fix that.
Yeah, it certainly seems like there's a lot of finesse to that. Go ahead.
Oh, I do remember some infinite loops actually, but none of them are too nasty.
Akshay, what do you do in that scenario if you hit like an infinite loop with Figma? Like, what is that? Is that restart Figma? What is that? How do you deal with that?
That's a good question. I mean, in Figma, you probably just have to kill it. I don't think there's like an easy way to escape it. You have to close the window. How do you debug it? I mean, that's up to each engineer. You can just print random stuff if you want. That's typically a great way to solve it, honestly, in most cases.
Awesome. Let's do about another question or so, and then let's get into the demo.
Let's go.
I think this is this feature. This question is for John Wu. Multi-Edit has this really large surface area. So how do you safely roll this out? I feel like Multi-Edit kind of touches a lot of the different things that people expect for editing in Figma.
Yeah, so we have like a very good documenting culture internally within Figma. So we have a staging environment that a lot of people, like our designers, everyone in the company will use. So we were able to start testing multi-edit very early on in the process. And one of the things we really wanted to do early was just like get it out there and just get feedback. We thought about most cases, obviously, in terms of like what behaviors make sense, but there's always going to be parts and cases that we're going to miss. So I think it was just like very crucial to get that feedback early, as well as roll out incrementally and safely using guards, right? As well as not trying to change any existing behavior, only really changing behaviors that make sense when you are multi-edit. And so I think it's a testament to like kind of that process is like people got used to having multi-edit on. It's as if that was just like how it always was, and turning the flag off internally, like it just felt actually worse. And I think that's like a good spot to be, and a good way to make sure that you have a lot of coverage. And yeah.
Thanks so much for that, and we'll have you around for questions and answers at the end. Thank you so much to the Figmates that talked about, just give us some answers for how we're building this, how we're thinking about this. We're gonna go ahead and jump into a demo. I don't know if y'all are excited.
Let's go.
This is the time where I get to just sort of like act as if I'm designing alone. So if I talk to myself or do anything weird like that, you know where it's happening, you know what's going on. But let's go ahead and talk really quickly about life before multi-edit, in case multi-edit is just like the way you live now. Totally get it. But just wanted to share just a quick demo here. This was life before multi-edit. So life before multi-edit, you would select a few things within some frames, and you resize them or align them, and like things would happen, but they didn't always happen. And what we heard is they didn't always happen in the way that you thought they would. So, all right, let's jump to the real demo and not just a video. So we're going to talk about a lot of different real use cases. We're going to share some resources for you at the end of this, but let's just talk about the basics here. We're going to start easy. Anybody, as I'm demoing, if this is coming across and you can see it clearly, cool. If you have any problems, just say so in the chat. We'll see what we can do. But let's get going. Okay, so now multi-edit today. So in this case, I'm going to pretend as if you've never seen this feature before. I'm also not going to use a lot of keyboard shortcuts, just so that you can actually see what's happening on the UI. So in this case, I'm going to select this object, and maybe in this scenario, what I want to do is change that logo like we saw before. So you're going to see a new icon up here in your toolbar. And you can see that it says select matching layers. Now, the keyboard shortcut, it will teach you. So you don't have to remember these or write these down now. Just remember when you select something across frames, like in that case where we've duplicated a lot of our frames, I can see select matching layers here. And what it does now is it selects both those matching layers. This is the matching part of multi-edit. But there's also a completely different part of multi-edit, which is just the behavior of when I select things on the screen, it's a little bit different now. It's a bit more intuitive now. So if I just start to resize here, or if I hold shift and I want to resize, you'll notice something different than maybe a week ago, which is this is now resizing relatively to the frame that it sits in, which is super great. The other thing that I can do is maybe I've resized this like this. I've dragged it down, I've resized that, and I've noticed that now I've got my alignment off. Now the first thing you might think is just, oh, I'm going to align it like this. Well, what this will do is it will align their vertical centers to each other. But if you hold shift while hovering, you're going to see up in here,
Guys.
a little bit different behavior. You're going to see on the tooltips as well that it says align horizontally to the frame. So remember that. Shift and hover here, and I'm going to align it vertically to the frame. But what I could do is actually align it all the way to the edge of the frame if I wanted to do this left align, maybe nudge it over. I could align it to the bottom of the frame, and that's maybe the frame that it's in. So in this case, it happens to be within a header nav frame, so it's not aligning to the entire frame. Now, what if I wanted to align it to the entire mobile mockup? Maybe I want to do like a splash screen or something. I can literally drag this thing out, and you'll notice that I've changed in a multiple way where this thing is landing. So it's actually landing all the way out here. Now I'm in the home mockup, and of course I can align those things to the frame centers. That doesn't look great, but you can see that what's happening here is I'm actually changing the order. It's almost as if I'm working, I think it's a good mindset, it's almost as if I'm working in only one frame. If I worked in this one frame like this, I could drag this thing out. Maybe I wanted to like copy it and paste it other places. Maybe I wanted to wrap it with an auto layout frame. All those things are going to happen now with multi-edit, but it's going to happen across multiple frames like this. Now, that's just selection, that's resizing, scaling, it's all happening related to the frame. I hope you're excited about this. I'm still excited about this. I think it changes such a core way about how I work with these things. Now, let's say I wanted to select this featured text. Okay, I'm going to select the matching layers. I can actually nudge both of those up. Now, what if I wanted to do something? What if I felt like these two things needed to always have a relationship between them? So this text here and this text here, I always wanted it to be maybe in an auto layout frame. They're always going to be right next to each other, and I feel like that's a good relationship. Well, if I select both of these, I'm actually going to hold shift and select both. If I multi-select, it's not just for matching one object, it's for matching multiple objects. So I selected multiple and then matched multiple. Now this is my favorite part, probably, I don't know. But I'm going to hit shift A, and you're going to notice something that's happened. This has put this in an auto layout frame, but it's also done it down here as well. So it didn't take these four objects on disparate frames and put them all into one sort of horrific auto layout that's completely outside of the frame. It actually did it relatively to each of the frames. And this is the behavior that I love. It's the behavior that I want. And of course, maybe I can like set that to like 8 pixels gap in between if I'd like. I can of course multi-edit a lot of these things. I can say I can extend this box. Both of these are extending here. Now, let's say I'd like to take this feature text and I want to multi-select this and do something to that. Of course, I can do that. But this is another favorite part. When you multi-select text objects, you're going to see a new toolbar here. And this is going to teach you exactly how to use this. This is multi-edit text. So I'm going to hit enter. And lo and behold, this is my favorite flex. But what if I was going to say new? I can edit both at the same time, and you don't have to all applaud at once. I will applaud silently over here, but I love this. So I can edit these text strings across all of these objects. Maybe I've decided that my brand changed, or this category has changed. We decided to change it from one thing to another. And remember, I'm in this stage of like riffing on designs. I'm not in the stage of like components yet. I'm just trying different options. I've got this lighting brand, and like over here, I've got like gradients and noise because I'm trying to be cool. But over here, I'm trying to like, it's like flat design. I'm trying to be a little bit more reserved. And And so I'm expressing different variations of this thing. And so I haven't really put anything to components, etc. All right, I'll show you a few more things. In this case, I duplicated this, and we have an auto layout frame. You can see here it's actually set to auto layout wrap. And I want to move this. Maybe we decided that LED lights are like the number one light in the cell. I'm going to select these. You can see that it's selecting the matching one over here. Another thing that you'll notice is instead of just clicking this button, if I hold shift to do this old school sort of core functionality of like shift selecting things, it may be very faint on your screen, but you can see that there's a faint outline in here. So it's letting me know that, oh, these are the matching objects. So I can actually draw a selection box over that now. Notice it didn't select anything else. If I selected this and this, you'll see that both of these are hinting, and I can draw a selection box there. So it limits the scope of my selection. Now, the cool thing is, I can actually move these things around independently. So it's actually changing the auto layout order. In that case, of the ceiling tile, I want to select it, move that one over, it's moving over in both. Here's another great thing I can do. Got these two variations of this nav. I'm going to select it, and I want to make this a big chunky nav, super big. But I've realized, oh goodness, I haven't set up auto layout or anything like that. That's okay. I'm going to hit enter. Enter is going to select all the children elements, but relatively to that frame. So now I've got all of these texts selected. I'm just going to simply hold shift and align vertically, and I'm off to the races. All right, let's get at some more stuff here. We're going to have a little bit of Q&A at the end, but I'm going to speed through and get as much done as I can for you. In this situation, I've actually got a desktop and mobile markup, and I've got the same kind of situation here. If I'd like, I can select this component instance and select the matching one over in the mobile markup. I can move them down or up. I can delete them. But I can also dive in deeper by holding on my Mac Command and click, and now I've actually selected this this text here. I can actually Command and click this and multi-select, and you'll see that it's selected both of these objects here. I can hit enter. Maybe I want to change the style. Maybe I just want to put in my new vegetable here. I can spell vegetable. We'd be in a good place today. But we'll just say vegetable. But you can see that we can do these kinds of multi-edits. Super cool, even within component instances. Moving along, we're going to keep this rapid fire, try to give as much information as we can. All right, so I've got a presentation slide template here. And this happens a lot with slides, where you kind of have some base thing, and you look at these across, and you have a ton of slides, and you realize, man, I don't really want this to look like this anymore. I actually want these two items to maybe sit side by side. That's okay, multi-edit to the rescue. I'm going to select all these objects. I'm going to hit Shift A. They're now all in their own auto layout frames. I love that. I'm going to make it a horizontal layout. I'm going to align it vertically. Then I'm going to hold Shift and align it to the bottom left. Maybe I want to like nudge it up, or maybe I just want to drag it around the screen, and I can do that too. I can drag it to this position. Love that. That's great. Or maybe in this case, I've got this item. It's a similarly named item illustration, different vectors in it. Maybe I just want to do a little bit of a scale operation on all these. So I'm going to use K, the letter K, to go into scale mode. So let me do that again so y'all can see it. I'm going to select them all, hit K. I'm in scale mode here, and maybe I just want to make these a bit bigger. So I'm going to go like that. I just want to make them a bit bigger. I can do these kinds of edits across the board, change fonts, do all of those things. Super, super easy. All right. In this situation, I'm working on maybe a familiar situation to you. This is going to be an animation. If I go to the prototype tab, you'll see that I have this kind of looping smart animate. I kind of want to prototype or mock up this kind of like moving lights example. So I've got this at an after delay looping background itself with the same objects. But I can use multi-edit in this case too, so I can select the matching objects. Maybe I'd like to make this bigger, but first, this is what I love. I'm going to hit Shift Space, and I'm going to bring in our prototype inline preview, and now I can kind of combine my superpowers, and I'm going to take this object, select the matching objects. I'm going to make this one bigger, and I'm going to drop it way down. Maybe I'll just select this one and go like this, and we can see now when I click away that my prototype should update here. And I'll go ahead and see that the update to the prototype. Of course, if it's not working, I can refresh it and see the updates and go do that. Maybe I'd like to change this blob here. smart animations really work off of matching layers, and this is kind of what we're doing with multi-edit and multi-select as well. All right. Now, I just want to remind, like, anyone who's on the call, Tom, anybody who's here, if there are some questions that you feel like I should demonstrate on the screen that should be contextual, you can interrupt me, but otherwise I'm going to just keep on going. All right, now, this is a super special consideration. We're going to talk now about multi-edit within components. So with components, we have a special icon here, and this is called multi-edit variants. So I'm going to click on this, and now I can, I'm in this mode. I'm this modality of editing variants. This is similar to multi-edit in the sense that I can edit multiple things at the same time, but in this mode, we realize that you kind of want to you don't want to keep going into select all the matching layers, edit them, select them, edit them. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is kind of like automatically select things for you. So you'll notice that I'm coming into the title. I want to edit this, I can edit this, I can add a prop here. So in this mode, I'm constantly selecting all the matching items. So I can, of course, scale up this image if I wanted to here. It's going to scale relatively. Maybe this title I want to add a prop to. And I'm going to say, hey, this is like a prop of text, and I'm going to create that prop. And I've done this across the board. But also, I can use all the tricks that I had before as well. So,
Matt, what's up, babe?
Icon, I'm going to edit all of these at once.
How are you doing?
And now you can see it here. Now, of course, you don't have to always multi-edit. You don't have to be doing this all the time.
I hopped in the
Not go into it.
Figma webinar to learn multi-edit, but it's not even live yet on Figma, so I can't even test drive it.
Just a few more demos for you, and then we'll get
But the demo's a vibe.
And I want to show off one more thing about multi-edit. And that's really
What you got going on today?
standpoint. So we've done a lot of moving layers around, wrapping layers in.
Right?
But I also want
Are you excited about multi-edit? I know you are.
edit variants from this perspective. So we're going to edit all these buttons.
I might just also need to like restart Figma,
Do something. These buttons, maybe we want to bring in an icon.
but it's definitely not
So the first thing we're gonna
live.
do is just grab this icon, come in, multi-edit the variants, and hit paste. Awesome. We automatically already have an icon in here, but what if I wanted to take this and maybe add like a minimum width to this? So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add a minimum width. Now let's say minimum width should be 300. Now I'm adding it to all of them. But what
Life
if I
is
realize
lit,
that
bro.
this text
Life is lit.
I can do this
I have a day.
like, just work on these
I'm about to leave the
variations,
studio right now,
but
actually.
one
What
of
you
the
got
more
going on?
exciting things about this is that I can actually like just draw into here. So let's just say I didn't have a label and I wanted to. I'm creating a button. I realized all my states. I've got a destructive state. I've got all these different states, hover, etc. Primary. Whoops. I can just click my text tool and start typing in.
This is a vibe. This is a vibe. This is a vibe.
label here. So I love this about multi-edit variants because I can just create all of these simultaneously.
Did he hold the shift button to do that?
Which is awesome. Or maybe I wanted to do a special effect where maybe I drew some kind of box on top of it.
I like missed it.
Change the color somehow. So I can set this to absolute position, and I'm doing this. I'm drawing this. I feel like I have superpowers because I'm drawing into all these layers instead of drawing, duplicating, drawing. Like I'm doing this all at once, and this is so great. So maybe I wanted to have.
Did you?
Gradient.
Did I just need to update Figma? Is like that? Was that the vibe?
So I wanted
Because when I selected the objects and hit shift, nothing happened. Or do I need to be like in the
where I'm going. I'm not going to go through the complete
beta?
demo here, but it's cool. You can do lots of great things with it. You can actually group, delete things. Let's say I have this icon. I decided I didn't want an icon in here anymore.
Figma does not want to open right now, by the way.
I can't wait to see how far you take it. Yeah,
It's funny, they were just joking about like Figma crashing.
Left, and I have some stuff I wanted to cover. Is that cool?
I would love for you to go for it. Yeah.
So, there's a bunch of questions around layer matching and do I need to keep my stuff organized?
That's
and
a
so on that I
good
wanted to
question.
cover, which, I've been seeing in, not just here, but like on Twitter stuff. My stuff is not as pretty as Raji's, but so first I wanted to talk about can you have your layers be messy, right? And so there's this idea that because layer matching works by name, that you have to be really careful about naming your layers. And I don't think the design
Naming your
So the way
layers.
that we've seen people work is they just copy a bunch of
Naming
stuff.
your layers,
They
people.
might, make copies of these things and so on and so on. And the way that is that when you copy layers, they automatically name themselves so that matching ideally works. So for example, if I select this guy here and I
Oh, it did. It did. When I reloaded Figma, it's showing up for me now.
Named them, right? This thing is called rectangle 1. But because I did it through copying, everything should work. Now,
Vibes.
there's another question around what happens if I want to match
Vibes.
across things within the same frame. And we don't have a keyboard shortcut to
Try
do
something
that,
else.
but the reason for this is because
Matt, I meant to thank you, yo. When you dipped, naming is not for the weak. When you dipped, I dropped like the lucid icons and dripped it all over my portfolio, babe, and it looks so fly. Thank you so much for putting me on, bro. I think I need like another hardcore 2-3 days. Let's fucking go. I need another hardcore 2-3 days to like get this where I need it to be. I have like 2 more projects that I want to add, and then I'll be done. But like the icons, like the drip, bro. The drip. Look at the drip.
Operate on them, using the regular multi-edit functionality, right? So you can do this.
But shout out to him for saying name your fucking layers. Name your fucking layers, people.
When it comes to messy,
Whoever's out there listening, name your fucking layers.
let's say that I take these guys,
My rule is before you clone it, name it.
I make new rectangles. And
Like it doesn't matter until you're gonna clone it. When you're gonna clone it, name it, right?
If I hit Command Shift A, you're gonna find that these things didn't match because I made these by hand, and because of that, it doesn't know what to do, right? Like let's say, let me give a more realistic example here. So let's imagine that these 3 were made by copying and these 3 were made by copying. And so if I hit Command Shift A, these ones will be selected. If I hit Command Shift A over here, these ones will be selected, right? So they're sort of like
Command Shift
I
A.
can look at these and say, I think these are supposed to be the same, but the computer doesn't know that they're supposed to match. So we actually have features to deal with this as well. As if you have something and you select it and you do Command Shift A and it doesn't get all of them,
I hope they can wrap this in 16 minutes.
In addition, and then once you hit Command Shift A again, and it'll select the rest of them, right? So that there's these ones over here. Oh, sorry, Command Option. I keep saying Command Shift, but you're right, it's Command Option.
Are you going live today, Mad?
And so the combination of these features is supposed to make it so that you can work in a messy way, but these selection features will help you select the right things even if they're a bit messy. So that's the idea.
What time?
All right, that's all.
Oh, vibes.
Raji.
Hey, thanks so much.
Your streams be popping, bro.
We'll try to just share the one thing that I think, and I'll go through really quickly on this one. Remember how we talked about how? Let's see.
I wish I understood.
Remember how we talked about how
You guys speak
we have all
Arabic?
these patterns, and maybe we want to make them into components. One thing the team threw in at the last minute, which is so cool.
I wish I understood what you were saying, because I'm like, it's a vibe in here.
Filter and sort. And I want to now start turning this into components.
Turn him down a
This
little
is
bit.
wonderful. I can actually take all of these, and when
Ooh,
I create a
component
single
vibes?
component out of these, you'll notice something that happens. I've now popped a component up here.
Ah, yeah. But in the chat, I'm talking about everybody in the community. They're all speaking in Arabic, and like I'm seeing the emojis flying, and I'm like, they're having a good time, and I don't get it.
Another way that multi-edit is also super powerful is like, let's say I had this placeholder for like a login button, and I decide that I want to actually put that login button at.
Yeah, but it's like a vibe. I was watching you one day. You were working on a site, and you were working on like the gradient in dark mode, and you were moving it around the hero. That's funny. And then the next day I hopped in, and you were working on the like the light mode or whatever. Not the light mode. You were working on the responsives, and I'm like, oh my god, such a vibe. I don't get to like design for web for another 2 weeks.
I know that we're at time.
We are at time, Rogi.
Go a little bit late in case folks wanted to ask a few questions.
But yeah, I don't get to do any like design until next week, so I'm just focused on, let's turn them down. I'm just focused on finishing up this case study, finishing up these. I have like write-ups, like I said, for 2 more projects. And then, yeah, I can get back to designing, which will be fun. So the multi-edit thing will be a vibe to fuck with. You see how beautiful, you see how beautifully my layers are named? You see over here? You see these beautifully named layers? Such a professional. She's such a professional. All right, so holding shift and then select. It doesn't know me. It wants, I can't like shift select the auto layout vibe. It's hating on me. I gotta play with this later. Yo, that's the rule. It's not, it's not, look over here. They're all the same. It's not a challenge if you do it before you clone it. That's all. That's all. That's the secret. Oh my God, I hate Zoom. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
What you like to do, what your style is, or what phase of work you're in.
We have another one here from Jared who said, "Will any of these be highlighted in depth at Fig?" I don't know if we're planning on it. Will we be doing any additional updates to multi-edit?
Oh, vibe. Select matching layers. Why didn't it do that before? Okay, wait. Where am I? Where am I?
This is the never-ending side project.
Yeah, sorry, there are some bug fixes that are coming along, so, text formatting right now.
Who do you think is a matching layer?
Do multi-edit text, that's gonna be fixed. What else do we got coming? There's a couple others.
Some auto layout bugs where like you see like a bunch of
So like that's a no. Cause I have a couple things called, I have column 1 on each sheet, but it doesn't. I wonder if they have to be in the same canvas. I can't wait to fuck with this later. Oh my God, look at these geniuses.
But very deliberate, right? This is a new behavior. We're starting with something that like fixes a couple of core problems, and as we're hearing new things come in, so please mention everything that you want to have.
Yeah, the QA is popping.
We'll go along in the same way and see if we see patterns emerge. We might take another crack at it.
But yeah, Mad, we should co-work like, what is today, Wednesday? Like tomorrow or Friday?
But now that it's out, I don't think it's
What are you working on next? Like, are you working on client work or your portfolio? Are you down?
All the more
Let's fucking go.
from you all. We love you sharing your stories of how you're using the feature, pain points that you have. Things like
All right, I think
I know that we are well over.
I'm gonna dip.
I'm going to do something that probably Jerry is going to get.
No, not right now.
Detail that I just could share very, very quickly to those that are left in the room. All right. One thing that I love, and I think there's like times when you're okay, and you've got like, so for instance, you've got these friends, all of them, everyone.
All right, I'm gonna troll and then dip.
So when I click this, and I'm like, hey, what am I selecting? Am I selecting like 300 objects and adding them, or are they just only the ones in my viewport? What I love with the team is down here, thank you Nico and team, is you'll notice something here. You'll notice these little arrows up here.
That's so funny that I just said, like, what am I selecting? And then he said it.
Select this logo, I'm going to match it, And
Match
you'll
it.
see that way up here,
Are all the other instances vibes?
this in those frames up there. And you can even see as I move, they'll kind of track where they're going. As I zoom in,
Vibes.
those purple lines are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's because I've got a component selected, more components selected over here. So keep that in mind. If you see those little
Those little purple vibes.
on the outside, that means you've got an additional multi-selection. Give us feedback on that behavior. If you like it, that's it. I'm gonna be done. That way, Jared.
Mad, what's your IG?
All right.
You're good, Raji. You're good.
Okay.
So I can slip and slide in your
I'm
DMs.
so thankful to the Figmates that came on. One thing that I want to make sure that I share with you is
And then tell me how many hours ahead of you,
slideshow here is a few
of me, are you? I'm on the East Coast time, so right now it's 12:52.
got a amazing blog post that's written by Sho and Nico who are on our stream today. It talks about the thinking behind
This was dope.
why we did it and all this. It's a great read. It's awesome. I love reading those sorts of things. We also have a playground file that will teach you all the things that I taught you today.
It's 8:52. Vibes. All right, bet. So, tell me your IG, and then I'll slip in your DMs, and then we'll set up what we want to work on.
Of course, please check out future live streams, figma.com/events. Or if you have an idea of hey, I really want to do that.
Yeah, Hire is a dope name too, by the way. It's a pain to have to. That's a really great pain point because each of the job sites, right? You've got to go to each of them, and then if you're doing freelance work, you got to go to each of those, and it's like a full-time job. Nice. That was lit. We learned something new today, people. This is such a vibe. Do I have to hold a shift button to do that? No matching layer on this page. All right, hit body. I didn't see the little purple thing. All right, people. It was fun co-working with you today. I've got things to do, people to see.